Thank you for joining CU Bands and Fans podcast. Our podcast is brought to you by Homegrown KIO. Homegrown KIO is on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. It is a stellar show featuring the great songs that have come from bands originating in Champaign-Urbana. Listen at 107.9 on your FM dial, at 1079wkio.com, or ask Alexa to play WKIO. Hey, welcome to CU Bands and Fans podcast, where musicians tell their story. My host with me this evening is Zach Widdup. How are you, Zach?
Really good. Hello, everyone.
And our special guest is John Matteson, aka Crazy Johnny. He earned that name well. And so how are you doing, John?
I am doing fine. I'm still playing and I enjoy it. And I just love all my people. I just can't wait to get out on the weekend.
Let's start in the beginning, because you have been playing live music for how long?
This year it's 56 years.
Wow.
I started in June 1967.
And where did you start at?
Where did I start at? I started playing 8th grade graduation parties, teenage splash parties. I did a lot of garage bands. You can see that like on some of your older movies where they invite the whole neighborhood. That actually happened. And yeah. I was pretty much the king of the garage bands.
So that was the good stuff right there.
Oh, the good times. Yes. I started playing, and then later in the years, I met up with musicians from senior high school. And it was one time I jammed with Eric Crow, which was a local bass player. And then me and brother Bruce Hall from REO, we did a couple teenage splash nights.
Oh my God.
That was back in like 67 and 68.
Were you in Lonnie and the Lugnuts back in those years?
I was.
That's what I thought, because I remember them. I used to see them.
The thing about Lonnie and the Lugnuts, there was never a Lonnie in the band.
I know.
We got it was Johnny. But if you look at it, Johnny and the Lugnuts doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
You put an L in front of Johnny, we come out with Lonnie and the Lugnuts. Mm-hmm. Yeah. An awesome band. It was 50s, 60s, grease back tuxedos, tennis shoes, and traveled Illinois, Ohio, Iowa, and Wisconsin.
Yeah. Wow. And what kind of places did you play at?
In town?
Yeah. I mean, did you play at bars or events or?
Basically, I can be safe to say that the Crazy Johnny, Lugnuts, whatever, I played almost every venue in Champaign-Urbana that had live music. That incorporates the Red Lion, chances are, Big Daddy's. Let's see, we have over on campus, we had the Round Robin, we had the Second Chance.
Panama Reds.
Yeah, and I played so many places, I'm trying to think of all of them I played.
You played all great places. I mean, those are all the old, classic places that, I mean, we used to go to all the time to hear live music, because live music was so big then.
I thought I would struggle, but I didn't struggle, because back in our conversation between me and you of the 8th grade graduations, we built a monster crowd. When the first time we came in and we played Smugglers, which was over on Washington Street, that is now the Silver Bullet. When we played there, The doors were closed at 10 o'clock. Couldn't get any more people. Did the same thing at the Hideaway in Champaign. If you wasn't there by 9:30, you were left out. The doors were closed and couldn't get in until people left, so there was some place to sit. And I just kept going like that. Then in the late 60s and early 70s, Crazy Johnny paved, and you can ask Dyke Corson. I paved the way for rock and roll to be in Tolono, Allerton, Philo. In Tolono, we did Manahan's Pub.
Manahan's, oh
Manahan's is now Jack's.
yes.
And then, we kind of watched how many times we played in this area. But then I'd go to Philo to the Three Aces. That's now Philo Tavern. It was called the Three Aces. And see, one time we played, we blocked the whole street off and played. And let's see, I was the Grand Marshal of Philo days one time. But, as far as bars goes, I paved the way for the nowadays rock and roll bands to play the smaller towns, because it was all pretty much country, because we're talking the middle 60s to late 60s. So, I had some trouble in some bars getting in, but once I got in, it was Cruise City.
Yeah, because I'm sure that everybody danced and had a blast. And so when did you play? Who was in that, Lonnie and Lugnuts?
There was a group of guys that started that didn't last, but the Lonnie and the Lugnuts that finished all the high school sock hops, that was Danny McCartney, Roger Freese, myself, my ex-wife, Karen, and then let's see, Karen, Roger Freese.
There was Lori Amendez at some point.
Huh?
There was Lori Amendez at some point. I knew her.
Yeah, Lori and Eric Crow, Dave, trying to think, he was a keyboard player. Most of them all moved out to California. That's
Wow.
They got out of it.
Yeah, so when did, and was that, so Lonnie and Lugnuts, was that a band you started and you gathered those musicians together to play?
No, the original started at a booking agency, and they just took bits and pieces of other bands, put it together, because they started booking a lot of 50s sock hops in schools around Illinois, and that band just had interband problems. They got along okay, but they had enough, and I wasn't ready, and the agency had at least I'd say 8-9 months of gigs left.
So when you played at Prairie Lands and Chances Are and all of that, what band was that?
That was basically the strong beginning of Crazy Johnny.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, so Crazy Johnny band that's your band, and that's been kind of your staple for years and years and years. You've never changed that. You have changed members, but you've never changed that name. And so at Prairie Lands, were you a house band there?
Yeah, I played. Well, there was 2 house bands. Huh?
How did that work? Like, how did you get a gig like being a house band?
Well, actually, I went in, and it was basically my reputation. because they thought, well, he's got a big following, so we'll bring him in. We played 8 to 11, 4 nights a week. Then there was another band came in 11 to 3.
Yeah, because they were open till 3.
So we all played and we all got along. And, you know, sometimes the two bands got together and did a complete show on a Friday or Saturday. It was at Prairie Lands, and it was open from 8 o'clock until 3 o'clock, 5 nights a week.
Yeah, that is where I heard you the most, because that's where I would go, you know.
Well, I actually met you in a family Skype thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah, because for those listening, Johnny and I share a niece and great niece. Oh, no, we share 2 nieces, and great nieces. So we are family. I've known Johnny like all my life, and you know, so that's how we know each other. We've known each other forever. And then of course the music, you know, and so in fact, when you found out that I was a photographer, like much later in our lives, you had contacted me and asked me to come and take photos of Crazy Johnny Band at the Rose Bowl. And that was, you had McCartney's, you had Terry and Danny, and I can't remember. I know Danny was on drums, and Terry and you, and who was it? Donna Nelson?
Well, I've played with the best in town. I played with Donna Nelson. We played the Rose Bowl together with Matt Stewart on the guitar. Then I played with Kathy Harden. I played with Dodie Cosme, and the 2 top guitar players that stayed with me the longest was Tony Stow, but he passed away, and Matt Stewart.
It was probably
Wow.
Kathy.
It was mainly Donna, because her and Matt battled all the time together. They're 2 of a kind.
But you had contacted me and asked if I wanted to come take photos of your band, and I was like, yeah, because I was always looking for something different to take photos of. So I did. I came, and it was so great reconnecting with Terry and all of you guys. It was just so fantastic. It was a great night to reconnect with all of you guys. I haven't seen you in years, and we used to have some wild times. So, but then getting the photos and everything, which was the weekend. It was it late Memorial Day, May 28th?
I think it was.
Yeah. So it was Memorial weekend, and so Memorial Day, I went to post those photos, and I was like, I don't think that I want these on a regular photo page, my regular photo stuff. So I was like, I'm going to open a new page. And then I opened a new Facebook page, and I called it See You Bands and Fans. And your photos from that night were the very first photos that we posted. And that's how that
I appreciated that really deeply in my heart.
Which was just the
But
wildest.
you know, we were close. Well, I wouldn't say we were. We're still are, but
Yeah.
miles separate us.
Yeah. So, but that's how that See You Bands Fans started. It started with your photos. And, you know, of course, from there, we've all grown and went so many different directions, but that was a blast that night. It was great reconnecting with the band and you guys. And, cause we used to follow you. I mean, it didn't matter where you were playing. We were gonna, you know, we would make plans and we would be there. That's the way it was back in that day. And that's what I loved about house bands, is you knew that band, you knew what to expect, you knew, you know. And Prairie Lands was a really great place, I think, to play, because the stage, you know, was there, and all of that. And who was the second band that played, like, that took the second shift, the late shift?
They called themselves Celebration. They were a group of musicians from Appleton, Wisconsin. It was the Rash family, Donnie Rash, Steve
Paul.
Rash. You know, it was a family band. And Donnie kind of got in the band with me after we kind of split from Rantoul, or no, we split from Prairie Lands and went to Rantoul to a place called Angels Inn.
Where was that in Rantoul? Where was
It was
that?
down by next door to the firehouse.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
you had the bowling alley, and then across the street was Angels Inn, and it was a very, very nice club. Uh, I've got tapes of that back on 35 millimeter.
Like I wish you could get those converted or something, because that would
Oh,
be,
if I could find it,
and get them
the
digital.
only thing we did was the band stripped down to their, well, it was jogging shorts, but they were back in the 70s and 80s, they were real short. And we all stripped down that night. And I jumped back on the drums, and Danny got up and he walked around. And that was Danny McCartney and Terry McCartney and Joe Weber, myself, JJ Penn. Um, JJ Penn is keyboard player for Ratskeller.
Wow. Yeah. So, because Don Rash, that's actually where I met Don. And my best friend is Carolyn, and she went with me one night and she met Don, and those two got married and stayed married forever. And then he recently passed away in 2021, I think it was
Very
2021.
shocking to me.
Yeah. So we miss him terribly, and I have recently been able to obtain some of his guitar work and his music. So I'm going to put all that together. I'm just going to put it all together, and I'm going to do a thing with it. But anyway, yeah, he was Don was a hell of a guitarist.
Yes.
Just very intense. So it's so sad we miss him to this very moment, terribly. And he was, good friends with you and played with you for years. And so, yeah. So that was a tough.
Carolyn was kind of like me and you. She was like my little sister. That's how we got, she came out singing, and her and Don, like you said, got together. I can't remember if it was from Flanagan's, which was the EO Prospector on Prospect Avenue. Yeah, need I say? But playing in Champaign-Urbana was the biggest honor that I have ever had. I wouldn't have thought. I started playing guitar in a rebellious year, and my parents was very gospel. I had to listen to gospel. My first encounter with music was the accordion. I played the accordion because my mother wanted me to graduate into Lawrence Welk so I could play on the Lawrence Welk show. And then after that, I graduated into the cornet, and I was in the concert band at Jefferson High School, and I could never get first chair. The highest I got was second, and that was it. But then I found out, football and girls is a lot better than blowing this cornet. So I graduated into that, and then I just started worrying on the weekends, just be a weekend warrior. But during the 70s and the 80s, I played pretty much 4 nights a week, every week. I was playing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Back in those days, when you book a club on the weekends, they normally booked you Friday and Saturday.
Wow.
And that was where, you had to watch getting burnt out, because if you play Friday and Saturday and you play more than once a month, you're going to burn out.
Yeah.
Because they can tell what time it is. But I never went by a set list. I had all the songs up in my head. And playing with Danny McCartney and Terry McCartney, the three of us at one time got together and we came up with little signals where, I hold up three fingers and point to the ground. That's give me 3 steps.
Oh.
Or if I put my hand through my hair like this and then go like that, that's Pretty Woman. You cover your breast and that's Pretty Woman. We had little signals, so I could go out in the crowd and stand on tables and sing to girls and all that and didn't have to worry about the band.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. That's actually pretty cool that you had them. You guys would just like move right into it.
Well, we were poor. That's why we ended up having to just stay in Champaign-Urbana. I would have loved to have been in the position where REO and Head East and all that. Head East and Crazy Johnny Band on beer night at the Chances Are, we battled from month to month. One they won beer night. Well, the next month I would win beer night. And we just went back and forth like that for months and months.
I had no idea that you had played like, battled it out with Head East, for God's sake. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I was playing Red Lion one time, and REO come back and did a gig at the Assembly Hall, and then they came down and to the Red Lion, and they got up and took over our instruments and had a good time.
Yeah,
that's what they used to do. But there was you had the One-Eyed Jacks, which was as popular as REO. You had Moby Grape. You had a lot of bands back then. The Champaign-Urbana was known for having the best bands coming out of Illinois.
Yeah,
because
and we had
such a good selection.
Yeah, and having the really great places to play makes all the difference.
Yep.
So from there to now, and you play now you play like fairs and festivals, and then obviously private events and venues. You still play some venues, but you had mentioned like you've done 40-year anniversary. You've played for 3 couples that celebrated their 40th year anniversary. Mm-hmm. And those are local. You want to talk about them?
Yeah. Bowie Daly, the Daly family from Philo. I used to play private parties for them out on their farms, and because they were big farmers there. And I would play those, and their father would come by with some moonshine, and we'd get hammered together. Then Chuck and Patty Easton from Tolono, I played their wedding, and I started freaking out because I'm looking out in the crowd, and on one side of this building is family members from my mother's side. And then I look to the left, and there's family members from my father's side. So finally I had to ask them, what's going on here? Well, their aunts and uncles were my parents' aunts and uncles, and I ended up playing for my whole family on both sides.
Isn't that crazy? Everybody is connected somehow. Always. Yeah.
I really freaked out for a while, but their kids on both Daly and the Eastons, they got a hold of me and said that can you play their 40th anniversary? And amazing enough and hard thinking, I kind of remembered the bride and groom dance. So I played the bride and groom's dance to to and it was just the type of the year because, you know, but the dailies there would could I have this dance for the rest of my life, which was off of Urban Cowboy. That was one of the hottest wedding dances you could ever do. So, you know, and then the Gossers, they were just a very quiet, uh, had a good wedding, and the party just went over awesome. Because when you come walking in, you see all these gray headed people, and you're going, wow, what are we going to do? Well, those gray headed people followed me all the time. So no matter what I did, you know, I played songs that I could remember playing back in those days. You know,
Yeah.
dipping back in Chuck Berry, the Beatles, the Electric Light Orchestra, uh, you know, just different kind of music. Never got really heavy into country. I did do popular country songs, but I try to play to the male and female. You can't let either one stand too long because they'll start talking and then they'll say, well, let's go over to so and so's. So,
So you guys, because you've played in a lot of the great places in Champaign, you know, back then, those were all tremendous. There's been obviously in 56 years, there's been you've seen a lot of changes and transitions and just, you know, from it going from live music to disco and then to DJs and then now we're back to live music. You've kind of stood the test of time throughout all of those changes. How do you feel now about the way the music scene is now and all the changes that have went forth, especially since 2020? And with the venues, just the way live music is today versus when you began.
Well, the thing of it is the music business was really still really good until COVID showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And that shot everything. Finally, when we got a hold on the COVID and got it under control and got it down, it was too late. A lot of places had to close because, you know, all the rules and regulations. And, you know, when you mask up and then you go out, you don't want to sit at the table and pull your mask down and drink every time. So people quit going out a lot.
Yes.
There's still the party animals, I call them. But, you know, the places to play that I played back in the days are gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Rose Bowl's here because Sonny Norman built an empire.
Yes.
And I was the only rock and roll musician to ever play the Rose Bowl when Sonny Norman was alive. And Sonny, I still love you.
Yeah. Yeah. So what a legend. Yeah, because the Rose Bowl is just like country music. That was what it was. Everybody knew that. You knew it. Right. And that, of course, and then when that changed, when Steve sold it, boy, I knew that was an end of an era right there. You know, I felt that. I really felt that. And I'm sure you did too. And I'm sure you experienced that end of an era kind of emotion many times. You've had to do this for 50 years and see all those changes.
You know, the changes was not for the good. Right. And like I said, you know, you see these places that'll have more than one band in a night. You might have 2 or 3 bands. That's you know, I got a personal opinion that I don't think I would voice. But,
Okay.
you know, a lot of times you kind of look and said, are we trying to copy Chicago? Because I've been up to Chicago and played different things up there. And those places up there, they'll have 2 or 3 bands in one night. And I'm going, this
I don't
town is
understand.
not
I
equipped
don't
to be
understand that strategy. Why would you have 2 or 3 bands if you're not having like a fundraiser or something? Why would you have 2 or 3 bands in one?
that is something I have not yet.
There's a lot of places that do that. I think the Canopy Club once in a while, but Night Shop in Bloomington and Dumb Records in Springfield have will have 5 different bands playing in a 2-hour time slot.
Yeah. Those they're trying to either one get it, but
Go ahead.
there's like the Rose Bowl, when they set their tent up, they'll be fine. But then you try to figure out where else can we play in town. The city center's not doing anything, but specialty stuff
Right,
when they
right.
have stuff, and that kind of weirded me out because $1 million building like that, I figured it'd be packed every weekend. But there again, we're talking a college town.
Right.
If the college students doesn't get out, your business is not going to be booming. Back in my days, you go to the alley rat or the alley cat. I said that in front of Paul Frisbee too, and he laughed. But back in those days, it was packed because the students got out and enjoyed themselves. And one year, I played about 85% of fraternities and sororities. I played a fraternity. I went to jail with him for disturbing the peace because when the cops came in, I did Elvis, going to a party in the county jail, and the officer just kind of did me one of those, come here. So we went, and that was back when you posted $25 to get out of jail. Then you forfeited your bond, and there was nothing. And then I played one place that they wiped out my whole light system. You got drunk and knocked over my lights, and that was back when we had the Par 64, the big chrome ones. And within a month, I had a whole new light system. The fraternity bought it, and I played. I played in a round corn crib because I played at the farmhouse. But I did a lot of campus business.
And see, and there is a big difference between then and now, because now the people that go out to see live music, if it's not a national artist, so if it's local live music, are between the ages of late 30s to late 60s. So that's the age difference. Now, when you were playing in your beginnings, and then when I started to go out and hear live music, I was like 17 years old, and I freaking loved it. I went to wherever there was live music happening, loved it, loved live music, loved dancing, all of that. But these kids and students, rarely are they involved in live music or hearing live music.
The only venue that has very many students going to it now is the Canopy Club.
Yep.
And Canopy's got a certain type of, genre and music that plays there.
It's kind of a progressive rock place.
Mm-hmm.
It's
a little harder rock than,
You go in there and you don't hear songs that you recognize, but it's good music. I mean, it's and that the people that used to come out that was my crowd, their grandparents. They stay home and watch their
Bingo.
grandbabies.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I'm retired.
that
But
was,
they're also the ones that are still going out to hear live music, and they're the ones spending the money at the venue. They're buying the drinks. Are they doing shots? No, probably not. But they're having drinks, they're dancing, they're still enjoying that. And that is the multitude of the age group. That is why it's so important that the new bands that we have coming in, like Ancient Ways, they're young. There's several of them that are younger that are making their way into live music. And it's good to see that. We want to support and encourage them to do that because they will bring younger people interested in live music. And we need that because we're all, so much older, even though we enjoy it so much. We need these younger people to fall in love with live music. That's what we need.
I really thought staying with classic rock was going to keep the band alive and rocking. Well, like you just said, they're young people. They have no idea about Def Leppard.
Right.
They didn't even know there was a Beatles. They know Paul McCartney. But now I had to rearrange my set list or my songs. I'm now playing a lot more pop. That's X's and O's, Melissa Etheridge.
Yes.
All them other that would appeal to the younger girls. And you get the girls out there, and it's the same scenario as back in the 60s. You get the girls out dancing, the guys will come. Yeah. They're going to go out and dance and do that. But you got to have something for them to dance to. Mm-hmm. You just can't.
Something good to. Yeah.
I keep telling my musicians, when you're in a band, you don't play to yourself. You have to figure the songs out that are danceable, then it appeals to the younger people.
Yeah.
And, I've had crowds that come in and they stay all night, and I've had crowds that comes in and stays an hour and a half and they're gone. So either I didn't do my job or they just wanted to go out and have a drink here and a drink here and a drink here. But, the DUI has got so intense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that hurt a lot of bars is the DUIs.
That used to happen at Memphis on Main a lot. A band would start playing at maybe 8 and there wouldn't be anybody there. And then at 9 o'clock, all of a sudden, this huge crowd of people would come in. And then at 10:30, they'd all leave.
Well,
there a dozen people left for the rest of the show.
They're slowly downtown Champaign around Memphis and Maine. You're exactly right. We would start at 8 or whenever. And the first hour would be so-so. And then all of a sudden, you get a whole place full. But after you're done and loading out, you see them standing on a sidewalk at another bar just a half a block down the road. They were traveling.
Yeah.
And they would come in, and if the band was good enough, they'd stay for maybe another set, but they're going to travel. And, that's a lot of the students coming in, partying and going from one place to another. And when Champaign started opening up a lot of different bars, that's when your live part started to slow down a little bit. I even know the more popular bands wasn't drawing as heavily as they used to, and
I agree. And we've seen that happen. We've seen that slide. And then when Memphis on Main shut down, and a couple of places downtown Champaign, which were
Cowboy Monkey.
Yeah, Cowboy Monkey took their stage out, and now they just do food, and so it just provided more places with less live music, but more places with, where the kids like to go, the younger people like to go to, like sports bars and places like that, and chat and drink and carry on and socialize and all of that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm saying there's got to be a way to, I don't even think a lot of them realize that there is live music out there. So
the hard part, what really screwed a lot of bands up and a lot of places is we no longer have newspaper. We've got social media.
Yeah.
Newspapers, they put your ad in there on the weekends and you got it right there in black and white, right in front of you. People, the bars are advertising on social media. If you're not into computers, how many times do you get on the computer? Not very many.
Right.
So when the newspapers decided we're not going to have, a newspaper route anymore, they can just see everything on the in there. If I want to see News Gazette, I just go on the internet and type in News Gazette and I can read the newspaper.
Yeah.
But
annoying
the
as
advertising has hurt everybody. There's no advertising.
Right.
I would not call social media a good advertising place.
It's
now,
well,
if it's, huh?
Go ahead.
If it's people that's on daily, that from the time they get up and get on, they're going to see it multiple times during the day. Facebook, I get on there and I start scrolling and I see all these bands. Most of the Champaign bands are going to Decatur. They're going to Bloomington. They're going out. And I'm going, wow, that's because there's too many bands for the places we have in town.
Versus venues, right? Exactly. There is not enough venues, and that's
right.
That's live music, and that is a problem. And it is kind of a little bit livelier, and there are more places outside of Champaign-Urbana. Because unfortunately, Champaign-Urbana, I mean, there's just so many places that just had to shut down or did shut down or quit having live music or whatever. So, but the street fest, things like that are always great. And the Champaign County Fair has live music. You played there multiple times. Almost every single Champaign County Fair you're there playing.
Last year it was, we decided we need to try something different, because the beer tent is it doesn't draw like it used to.
Right.
And, they're trying different things, which, I'm behind them, let's try anything, something. But the smaller towns, it's like Sydney, there's like 2 places now that play down there, but it's a selective. You had to be selected to play. Villa Grove's got a couple places. Now Tolono, you used to have at the tracks, you got Lou and Denny's. I don't think Jack's has anybody.
4 or 5 places. Solano had like 4 or 5 places that you could play.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. I mean, Lou and Denny's in the summertime, the parking lot parties. And Loose Cobra has quite a bit of live music, actually. And Jack's. And that's, I think, and something Tracks. What is that called?
Besides
the tracks.
Yeah.
There's Trackside in Tolono.
Trackside. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it's still called Trackside. But anyway, that place, they randomly, and as we were talking about, like the summer is the best time because Houlihan's has patio play. There's all these festivals, there's all these street fests, there's all these small town, they have all their small town celebrations and festivals. 4th of July, Muhammad has their festival where they have local bands, and then they'll have a national artist. The city center is just now beginning to go, let's do some, let's do this. So they're amping up their schedule. So and me and Zach talked earlier today. Or yesterday, I think he messaged me and he was like, "Man, it's you could tell that spring and summer is coming because the event list is beginning to to really grow, and that's fantastic, and I love it. But the winter's got to be hard on you guys. I think it's so hard for musicians to find a place to play that's and that people are out or want to be out, which is the other thing. I think COVID really did set people back in the mode of I really don't want to go anywhere.
They're getting back in a mode of, well, let's go get a couple cases and go over to this guy's implement shed, and we'll invite 5 or 6 guys and their girls, and they start partying at home. And a lot of times, going out in the evening is very, very expensive because alcohols went up. I was shocked when I went to the big screen TV, or not TV, but the movie theaters. You cannot go in there for less than almost 60 to 70 bucks.
Yeah, I was stunned as well. And I haven't bought alcohol in a super long time, so I'm sure I'm shocked with that. So yeah, and then back in the day, like back in your day when you began, all the way probably midway through, what did you guys do a cover charge was normal?
Yeah, cover charge was either $1, $2, and now they're up to $5 to $10.
If there is one, rarely is a cover charge.
Well, it's in the advertising. We have a tip jar. Bring a nice donation. They're calling it donation now instead of a cover charge. It's a donation. But that's
not mandatory.
Huh?
What is that?
It's not mandatory. When they have a tip jar, you don't have to put anything in it.
Where it was like back, when you were playing and then I would go out, you had to have your cover charge or you couldn't get in, period.
Right.
Yeah. And is that how you got paid? Is that how you mostly got paid, is because there was a cover charge?
Yeah, a lot of places, well, we're not going to pay you, $300 or $400. That was top dollar back in the 60s. If you made $300 a night, you were good. Because, they made their money at the cover charge, and then they kind of spread the wealth a little bit. But nowadays, it's you don't have a cover charge, and if your place is not packed, it's the band's fault.
Yeah.
And and if you go home with $20 a piece, it's not my fault. You got to have more, camaraderie with bar owners.
Yeah. Yeah. So in all of these years, that's a lot of years, and you're still rocking and rolling. Like you're still taking gigs, you're still out there, you're still, in the summer heat and in the cold winter and all of that, you're still doing it. And
yes.
What has been, I'm going to ask you like this, like a two-sided question. So what has been your very, very, very favorite thing about it?
Being on stage in front of people. I love that. I would, I've lost a lot of jobs, working jobs, to support your families, because I couldn't get off to play that night. So I would go ahead and play that night because I love entertaining people so much. That's a brand of my entertainment is not around here no more.
Right.
Because my entertainment went back to the Chances Are when you got Dr. Bop and the Headliners, Chucky and the Dipsticks. They were show bands. Dick Bronk and the Revenuers, show bands. You got people up there talking to the people. making the crowd a part of your show is a big thing, because if you don't do that, you're going to build this wall. You got to break that wall down. That's why a lot of times in my younger days, I was out in the crowd more than I was on stage. I'd grab my mic and I'd go sit on a lady's lap and sing her a song and get up and go over to a guy and we'd dance and have good time. And I'm singing and the band's playing all this time. And that's the way music used to be. You always got to remember, you got to give the crowd something that the next band don't.
Yeah.
And if that's me getting up there and talking 90 mile an hour and they look at each other and say, what did he just say? I don't know.
Yeah.
Zach knows what I'm talking about.
So it's having a lot of engagement with the crowd and all of that, which I believe is always hugely important, I think, for a band. And people love it. They love that. So what do you feel has been the worst part of it?
The worst part? Not being as popular as I was. It kind of hurts me.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said before, those people that made me what I was are at home with their grandkids. But, I used to go to the supermarket and maybe 2 lanes over, you'd hear a couple people, that's that guy that was on stage last night. Did you see him? That's him. Well,
Yeah.
you don't get that anymore. And the thing of it is I run into the older musicians that is from the 80s, I guess. They remember Crazy Johnny. Whoa, you know how many times I stood outside so-and-so's bar listening to you. Man, that was awesome. The kids nowadays, oh, you the godfather of rock and roll. People said you're a godfather. Well, 56 years got me a godfather titlement.
Yeah.
But
I would imagine that would be really difficult, because as I was stating earlier about the end of an era, that kind of emotion that comes with that.
Yeah. Do I keep that? I keep that in bundled up, because when I go on stage, I'm there for a reason. That's to make somebody happy. And I do my job. Man, you could be the world's best musician. You get up there with an attitude, you're gonna last long. But it's just, it's just the respect that was back in the 60s and 70s and stuff through the musicians. It was called commitment. Nowadays, you put a band together, your sidemen can walk anytime they want. Mm-hmm. It's very rarely you're going to find a band with the same musicians, because one of them's going to play with another band, or one of them plays with 2 other bands.
Yeah.
And the days of commitment is gone.
Now I thought this was interesting. I saw Chris Isaac some months ago when he played here in town, and he said he's got the same band, same members that he's had for the last 38 years.
Yeah. It's just like X-Crush.
Oh, yeah.
High school kids.
Yeah.
Buddies from high school, and they've been playing with each other ever since.
Yeah.
I'm going, wow. It's like the McCartney brothers. One of them got asthma, so he couldn't take the smoke, and back
then we could smoke in bars, and yeah.
Well, actually, it freaks you out when you get out of Champaign County, because you can still smoke in a lot of bars.
Oh wow,
and that kind of. Oh. Yeah. But
Remember
you know,
Les's Lounge?
yeah,
You could cut the smoke with a knife in that place.
Les's Lounge. That's where I met my wife.
Oh, cool.
Les's Lounge. She was a bartender in a Levi's skirt, and when she bent over to get them drinks, oh yeah. But you could hear them smoke. You could hear them all night long. But
Wow.
you're right. It was very, very smoky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But
okay, well, I can see that being, really, like you said, you just kind of keep that down because that would be really a tough thing to, just age alone, you know, just you go through so many things as you age and then if you're treated with disrespect, that's even a worse blow, you know. So I get it. I honestly do. There were definitely the good old days, and they don't say that for, just because it's cliche. They honestly, it was a blast. Live music back then, all the venues, all the bands, it was an absolute blast. And unfortunately, there's some generations that are just never going to know that, experience it. They're going to experience some electronic stuff. So,
well, that was a few years back. That's when the keyboards, you can get the same sound as a guitar. That's where you became in one guy show, one man show, because you could put part of it on a CD or tape and play with it. You got the backups, you got everything right there, one man show. But you know, the trend nowadays is duos. That is the trend because some of the duos are playing with three or four different guys. Because like Dave and Lisa,
yeah.
and she plays with Bad Medicine. She plays with another guy I can't
Joe.
remember his name, but he also plays with my keyboard player, or she does. You
Yeah.
know, but you got to do what you enjoy, and she enjoys performing. So she's following trend.
Yeah, because nowadays you got to do what you got to do to, keep those gigs and get a
Yep.
gig. It's easier with a duet, because Dave plays with Nickel and Dimes, and so and that I think he does have a job, but to keep this flow, an income flow, you've got to be versatile and be able to go, well, I can play this with this person at this place because venues are, it not only is that like the venues, it's minimizing and it's helpful for the venues to not have to pay so much
Right.
either. So there's that.
So, and it's like me. I mean, I don't like to harp on my age, but at 72 years old, I'm still rock and rolling pretty heavy.
I know, I still love it. I love it.
I already booked the 4th of July at our 4th of July.
Oh, good.
Be in the parade. And, I've got car shows coming up. So, I'm still hanging in there. I'm not backing down, and I don't turn away from any gig.
No.
I mean, if it's going to get rough, it's going to get rough. But
yeah,
you got the experience.
Yeah. And there's the load in, the load out, the equipment, and all of that. So working together as a band to get all of that done for the show, I mean, that helps, especially if you're 72 years old now, but you're still, I mean, you get up there and you can shred that guitar. Like it's like age does not matter with music.
I had a guy that asked me Saturday night, we played St. Patty's Day over in Danville, and the last song of the night was Johnny Be Good. Well, the last part of the song is mine. I threw the guitar over my head, I played it, and I ran up and down, up and down. And then when I was done, there was a local musician come down and said, "How do you do that?" I said, "As many years as I've been in it, I've played with toilet seats." Well, at Prairielands, I told at Prairielands, I told the people, whatever you bring on this night, I will play with it. Some guy brought in a toilet seat,
Oh my God.
and so I played with that toilet seat, like this, But but I gotta hold up Crazy Johnny. I if I get up there and just stand there, I'm just like a musician, and that's what I don't want to be.
Yeah.
I want to be an entertainer.
Yeah. So, gosh darn it, I just lost my train of thought because I had such a cool question to
That
ask you.
comes when you get old.
Yeah, I know. I'm remembering musicians' names. It's
Yeah.
If you had this to do all over again, would you do anything differently?
Personally, to me, no, because I built myself. I watched the TV of a lot of musical stuff and went out and seen live bands when I wasn't playing. And you take all these ideas and you incorporate into one. And if I was to have it all to do over with, I wouldn't change anything but have somebody unload and set my stuff up.
I have some roadies.
That's why, a lot of the bars now is getting their own sound system and lights because they'll take the band and make them pay less, but all you got to bring is a guitar and amplifier.
Yeah,
And
which
I
is
know there's bands out there that won't play unless you have all that stuff already.
yeah,
So,
that's kind of priceless actually to not have to do all that and lug all that
yeah.
around. Well, I think on that note that we will end this, but it's absolutely been a pleasure, and I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed listening to
Yeah.
your stories and
Heck, I would always enjoy seeing you out traveling around. You're just a happy individual.
Thank you. All right.
And Terry, I always accept hugs from you.
I know. Like, we always have to hug when we see each other. That's the way it is.
Yes.
On that, we're going to say goodnight. Hang on.